Mizzou fans. Mark Fitzpatrick, retired coach, Kansas City. It's March 4th at the Westport Flea Market. Pleased to have our speaker today, Missouri Sports Hall of Famer, author, hot podcast host. He does it all, Blair Kerkhoff. Blair, thanks.
Great to be here. Thanks for having me.
We are in our favorite month of the year for basketball, and who would have thought a few months ago the Mizzou Tigers would be fighting for maybe a top 4 seed in this tournament?
Not me. Not when the season started. We were, I think, like a lot of people, just wondering how Dennis Gates would approach a season in which they didn't win an SEC game the previous year. What changes would be made, and how would the team look and be different? And kind of right out of the gate, we saw that this was a better addition than the previous year, but I didn't expect them to be this good. And I know they're coming off a little bit of a tough stretch. They've lost 2 or 3, but the body of work that Missouri's put together this season is outstanding and really beyond anything I expected.
I think we're all pleasantly surprised. They've really been exciting to watch.
Yes.
They've put up a lot of points. Mark Mitchell's been a great addition, having Caleb real healthy. It's been a great season.
Yeah, and Tamar Bates is one of my favorite players in
Yeah.
college basketball. I just love the energy he brings. He is one thing that I've really grown to admire about the Tigers is the way that they play. In the beginning of the year, I wasn't sure what Dennis Gates was going for with this team and their structure, but one thing what became apparent was they are an attacking team. They play well in space, and they're an attacking team. They play downhill as well as any team in college basketball. So you better be ready for them. If you're on defense, you better be ready to guard all 5 positions. And we've seen most teams kind of double up Mitchell, and that leaves one of their shooters open. They got a lot of shooters too. So they can attack in a lot of different ways.
Talk about Mizzou football. I think a real tribute to the program right now is the number of guys you see going in the draft. And a couple of Tigers are really climbing up the charts.
Yeah, so the NFL Combine just completed here, and all the Missouri players there did really well. And in the different positions, Armand Membu, Lee Summit North product, was one of the big stories of the Combine with the way he ran his 40-yard dash. 350 or 330 pound, offensive tackle with 4.91 or whatever. It was some ridiculous number.
And I heard that he exceeded Kareem Hunt's top
Yes,
miles per hour,
right,
something
right.
like that.
Yes, running 20 miles an hour plus. And then Luther Burden had a very good drill there, and Brady Cook was another one of the fun stories of the NFL Combine. He came in probably looking at as looking like a player that wasn't going to get drafted to one that I'm pretty sure now that he'll be a 3rd-day draft pick.
I'm going to talk about the Chiefs on your KC Sports Beat podcast, which, by the way, is excellent.
Thank you very
host it. You talked this week about the changes the Chiefs would make. Chiefs are paying top dollar at center. They just franchised Trey Smith. They're paying top dollar tight end.
That's right.
Patrick Mahomes
Defensive
is
tackle,
on
quarterback.
Defensive tackle. There's an issue at left tackle. I don't see an easy solution.
There isn't. There doesn't appear to be an easy solution. It's not a deep position in the draft, which means by the time the Chiefs get to they're 31, assuming they don't trade up, there's not going to be a player there with a first round grade. And in free agency, they've kind of committed a lot of their money to Trey Smith, and they're not going to go out and afford a Ronnie Stanley, for example. So I think they're going to try to put together left tackle. They're going to go into the season hoping that the solution is already on the roster, or they'll draft a player in the first round who may not be a tier 1 offensive tackle, but somebody they can mold into a starting tackle as a rookie and go with that. But it's not a good year to acquire a new defensive tackle. Offensive tackle.
Yeah. Let's talk about the Royals getting ready to start. I think there's a lot of optimism around the club this year.
Gotta be, right? I mean, they got to the playoffs for the first time in a decade last season. Bobby Witt turned in, I think, the 2nd best season in Royals history by an individual, right after George Brett's 1980.
Yeah.
And Salvi was 27 home runs. The rotation. I mean, they had 3 pitchers in Lugo, Reagans, and Walker finished in the top 10 in the American League in ERA. boy, that's not the Royals. That's not the Royals we're used to. That's just fantastic. And so they've got what appears to be a solid rotation. The bullpen got stronger. One of their big offseason, acquisitions was Estevez, the relief pitcher, to go with Lucas Urseg. So they look good in the bullpen. You can build around Witt, Perez, Vinny Pasquantino at first. It's not a team that has everything. They're still looking for a little offense from the outfielders. But I just like what they've got going, and I'm excited about this season.
They were remarkably healthy with their starting pitching last year.
Yep.
I can't see that happening again, but they have built some depth in that rotation.
They really have. I mean, we're looking at Michael Lorenzen as a fourth starter, and maybe Chris Bubich as the fifth, but it might not be Bubich. There are other candidates. Alec Marsh. There are other people that could step in and be that fifth starter. And there have been some recent years where we didn't know who their third, fourth, and fifth starters were going to be, and now we're pretty sure who four of them are. And there's a collection of candidates for the fifth starter. That's a really good place to be.
Last question, what about the stadiums?
Yes,
you have all the answers.
They will
to that.
play in stadiums. I can assure you that stadiums will be their home. But where they'll be, what they'll look like, what states the teams will reside in, we just don't know. I think, however, we're going to get some answers in the next few months. I think by 4th of July, we'll have a pretty good idea where the Chiefs and the Royals are going to be.
And we know they'll stay in the Metro.
Yep, and they're going to be in the Metro.
We have good ownership.
Yep.
Blair, 36 years at the Kansas City Star.
Thanks,
Kansas City legend. He's a great guy, good friend of the club. Hey, next week we'll have his cohort, Vahe Gregorian.
Vahe.
And we have to have
Vahe.
a contest at who's going to get the bigger crowd. So if you're a Blair guy, well, come next week and we'll
Absolutely.
find out. Absolutely. So, hey, folks, our golf tournament is filling up. If you want to play or be a hole sponsor, please go to kctigerclub.com for information on the golf tournament and upcoming events.